Hello, Power Parents, and welcome to your No BS Boundary Bootcamp. And this bootcamp is for you if you've had enough of the people pleasing, of being everything to everyone all the time, and working your butt off to build a happy life. And instead of reaching that peak of bliss that Disney promised us is, just around the corner, as soon as we hit our adult life, we're going to have a happily ever after. Instead of that, we're just left feeling exhausted instead. So go to the chat, type me if that is you. And this is also for you if you want to make generational change and get rid of the idea that the best way to show someone that you love them is to completely sacrifice yourself, sacrifice your needs, sacrifice your dreams, and even your humanity, like your even ability to have needs. And so you're in the right place if you want to raise kids who will have healthy boundaries and who are going to go on to live a balanced and happy life because they have learned from your example. And these are kids who are going to be true to themselves and listen to their heart and take brave steps towards their dreams. Like, do you want that for them? Because that's what I want for my kids. But what are we modeling for them? Because for the first 10 years that I was a parent, I was definitely not modeling that. I was modeling something like, in order to be a good mom, you had to completely drop all of your other identities. I had to let go of my dreams. I had to let go of my needs and just dedicate myself to making my family happy. And so much so that my kids made comments in their schoolwork. I don't know if you've ever gotten schoolwork home from the kids that, says describes moms and describes dads. And one of them said, moms do everything. That was their definition of being a mom. Very observant little ones, right? Because that was definitely me. And I thought that was making me a good mom, even though I realized on the inside that those habits were actually hurting me. And I don't want my kids to think that sacrificing yourself for your family means love. And so today, this week, we're going to change that. We're going to find better and healthier ways to dedicate ourselves to all of the things and all of the people who are important to us, but without sacrificing who we are and our needs. Okay. So I don't know about you, but I was lost in the grind for a really long time. Type yes in the chat if that was you. I felt like everything was hard. Doing everything was demanding. It was constantly placing demands on me. And it felt like every day was just something to get through, just make it through the day. I would wake up exhausted, try to keep my patience, get the kids to school, rush to work, die a little while I was there, rush home, dinner, activities, work, bath, dishes, laundry. Oh my goodness. And it wasn't doing it for me anymore. I felt like I was being pulled in 1,000 directions all day long, constantly overwhelmed and overstimulated and frustrated that this was the happily ever after that I worked so hard for. Okay, so if you're ready to claim your happily ever after and model that for your kids and model what living a happy life looks like for them so that self-care and healthy boundaries are just normal for them, right? Happy in the chat. Happy, happy. Okay. So for those of you who don't know me, hello, I am Christina. I am raising 4 boys with my husband, Tim, and I have 1 child with allergies, 2 with ADHD. Yay, happy, Andrea, good job. 2 with learning disabilities and 1 with autism and behavior challenges. And about 7 years ago, I burned out, fell flat on my face. And I felt such incredible shame about that at the time. I felt like I was a complete failure. And I didn't want anyone to know that I was on stress leave. I didn't even want to see people I didn't even want to have people see me hanging around my house during the day because I was worried that they are going to think that I was lazy or selfish or that I couldn't cut it or that I wasn't even a competent parent to my kids. My worries were so big around this. And I worried that I would never be employable again if employers found out. They would think that I was a bad hire or that I would exploit my sick leave or that I was unreliable. And that made getting better a real challenge. So Have you ever felt like that you need a break, but that it's impossible to take one? Yes? Anyone? So what do you do? What do you do when you know deep down that you are exhausted, but you also know that there's no escaping? You can't leave your kids, right? You can't leave your job. You got a mortgage to pay. So we just keep going. Push onward, right? Oh, so that's how I felt for so long. And so by the time I burned out, it was like I had been walking on this broken leg for years and it wouldn't hold me anymore. And I had a lot of healing to do if I wanted to walk again, let alone run. And I went to therapy, but that was slow and I didn't seem to be going anywhere. I read books on self-help and found a good tidbit here and there. I took courses on how to calm your nervous system and how to connect with yourself. And finally, I was starting to start feeling better and I went back to work. And I had created these practices without really intending to that kept me from burning out again. And people started to ask me how I did it. And I was so surprised to hear from people who felt just like me, wanting to escape and to be happier and fulfilled and balanced and putting all of our energy into that, but getting nowhere. Is that you? Is that another one of you? So I started teaching them. I started showing them how to pull out of that abyss of darkness and create a life of joy and balance, even though they were super busy and they could never escape that busyness. That wasn't an option. So we're trying to find joy and balance while we're still keeping up with everything. And I was getting contacted from random people saying, like, oh, I heard from so and so that you can help me get out of burnout. Show me the way. That was so cool because somewhere in there, this ferocity started rising up. Like, here are people who want to be amazing at their job and their life, working so dang hard, but never finding happiness. Here were parents whose kids needed them to be okay. Your kids need you to be okay. And you feel like you can't take a break because you have so many responsibilities. So I became a burnout coach and I redefined boundaries and self-care for busy parents because we need a different solution. So now I have a full-time job, 2 side businesses, and you heard 4 kids, right? And I still find peace and happiness in my daily life. It still feels like I have balance and I can stay on top of my responsibilities while also feeling like I have the time for myself and like I'm fulfilling my purpose and passions. And that is what I want for you this week. So give me a heck yeah if you want to feel balanced and fulfilled while also tending to your responsibilities. And it all starts with boundaries. And I am so excited this week to share with you how to set boundaries like a boss. Heck yes, my friends, so that you can find the life balance that you so deserve. And so I'm going to be sharing the exact no BS boundaries formula that I use to help people ditch overwhelm and de-stress themselves and start like filling our own cups so that we can handle so much more and be the parent and worker and partner and friend and sibling and all of your roles that you actually want to be. Okay, let's talk boundaries. Have you ever tried to set boundaries before? Type yes in the chat and let me know what results you got, because I'm assuming you're here because your boundaries didn't work as well as you had hoped, right? But why? Why didn't it work? Can you name what got in the way? Was it guilt? Because we carry so much guilt. Let me know if you can name it. Maybe it was fear. Fear of speaking up, fear of causing conflict, fear of getting ridiculed or called high maintenance or whiny. Oh, you got yelled at, Andrea. That sounds terribly. Oh, I get so many emotions, like humiliating and frustrating and anger provoking, and like all at the same time. That must have been really hard. And so most of us don't know why our boundary efforts haven't been working. And that's okay, because that's what we're going to dig into today. For me, I know now it was a deep sense of unworthiness. I didn't know it at the time. Like I never would have been able to name it back then and say that, but I know it now. I didn't believe that I was good enough to deserve respect. How sick is that? And so today is boundary blooper day because we just got to laugh, right? We got to laugh at our failed attempts. So here is my biggest boundary blooper, and one that I see so often in so many people: the boundary yo-yo, like a yo-yo diet. So here's what it looks like. I would set a boundary and I'd be like, yeah, and I'd feel good. But then, kind of like you, Andrea, people would tramp all over it, all over it. They would yell at me, like they would just, it would turn into this big disaster, and it would make me question everything. I'd be like, oh my God, like my worth as a human, and am I lovable? And maybe I should just, shrink back and be a little mouse. And I would decide that it's just easier not to set boundaries and just to let everyone trample all over me and just to shut my mouth and be quiet. And then I would drink and eat to numb the pain. Okay, so yo-yo went up, yo-yo went down. But then the yo-yo started going up again. I would have a little spark inside of me, and it would get angry. It would start being fierce, and it would rise up and it would call BS. And it would tell me that I am indeed worthy. And then I would resolve again to have healthy boundaries, and I would set a boundary, and the cycle would begin again because people would trample over it and I would shrink away. It's like this animal popping out of its den and then like running back in again. Anyone feel that? Anyone been in a boundary yo-yo? Oh my God, like it's exhausting and honestly confusing for the people around me. And it made me resentful and passive aggressive. And so this week, I am going to show you a completely different way of looking at boundaries. So yeah, Andrea says saying yes to everything feels easier. Yes, it sure does. Absolutely feels easier. And so the way I'm going to teach you this week, it's probably different than how you've had it in the past. It might sound really weird, but if the advice you had before worked, you wouldn't be here, right? So I'm going to show you a step-by-step process that allowed me to implement boundaries with like clarity and purpose, and finally follow through on my boundaries without all of that icky feelings and conflict and guilt and all the things that came with it before. All right, sound good? Yes? All right, let's do some admin stuff. Have you got your workbook? I'll put a link in the chat just in case you don't have it yet. Grab your workbook. We need it. We're going to do some work today. Chat. There you go. Everybody have your workbook? Yes. Cool. All right, so we're going to dig into ourselves today and hopefully figure out a few things that are going to skyrocket you into your best life. So today I'm talking about boundary bloopers. We're going to uncover what has been holding you back and what has been getting in the way of all of these efforts that you've been putting in. Tomorrow, I'm going to give you the tools to set simple boundaries that is going to leave you being able to follow through on boundaries that you set with others and set with yourself. And then on Friday, I'm giving you my full no BS boundary framework for when life throws all the poop at you and you don't know what to do. It helps you make decisions. It helps you always move in the right direction. That is Boundaries with Benefits Day. So I am super excited about Friday. So I am going to try to wrap things up in 45 minutes each day, but I am going to stay on afterwards in case you have any questions or if you want to work through any personal situations. So the first 45 minutes are recorded and they're going to be in the replay. Okay. But the personal stuff at the end is not going to be recorded. And so if you want to have a chat with me at the end, it is private. All right. But some of you can't attend live. I know that it's impossible to find a time for everybody to be able to attend live. So if you do have a question and you're not able to attend live, please DM me. All right. I am here for you. And I want you to get the most out of our time together and get what you came here for, which is like boundaries that let you juggle your life like a pro and find yourself in the process. Okay. So if you have any questions, always feel free to DM me. Okay. Back to it. Why have our boundaries failed? Anyone figured it out yet? It's usually a complex combination of this, like feeling guilty and not wanting to rock the boat and wanting to be sweet and lovable and all of the things. So we shut our traps. We silence our voice. We like giggle sweetly and like down a tub of ice cream when no one is looking, right? Why do we feel like that? Why do we feel like we can't speak up or that other people's needs are more important than our own needs? Because that is total BS. We didn't used to be like that. As a child, we were weird and curious and impulsive with no filter at all. I mean, some of us still have no filter, but you know. All right, let me share my screen. All right, so here we are as our weird and impulsive little child. And this child is beautifully and authentically herself. She does whatever feels good in the moment. She feels no shame in asking for her needs to be met. I don't know if you've any notes in the kids, but I want whatever, and the needs are met. And that's fantastic. In a perfect world, this child would grow up intensely connected to themselves and discovering all the things that light them up, and their path would look something like this. Okay, nice straight line. But none of us live in a perfect world, so we had to adapt to survive. And as a social species, that means adapting ourselves. It means changing who we are in order to maintain our status as part of a group. Because back in the day, like when our brain was evolving, if we were cast out of the group, that pretty much meant certain death. And so it was to our benefit as an individual to figure out super fast how to be liked and accepted and included. And different groups had different norms. And so our mind evolved to take in this data and figure out how to fit in wherever we are and be in the least danger possible. So let's think back to our first community, which is your family. What did you need to do in order to be safe there, in order to get praised and avoid conflict? Maybe your mind noticed that it's the safest if we kept quiet or we didn't make waves. Or maybe it's the opposite. Like maybe we needed to be loud in order to be heard. Or maybe there's certain expectations of how to behave or be liked or fit in and to get noticed and to make others happy. And so we change ourselves according to those rules that our mind takes in, and we adapt ourselves, our behaviors, and how we show up. And the sad part is we hide parts of ourselves in order to be liked and accepted and loved and safe. And so this little arrow here is us changing ourselves in order to fit in. So we're deviating from our true self in order to present to the world what our mind thinks is a more acceptable version of ourselves. And sometimes we think of this as like a traumatic thing, you know, like if you had an abusive household. And that's true, absolutely true. But it is also true in every single situation, in every single family, because we all have a mind who desires to be safe. So even good things, like if you were praised for being super helpful and for like getting good grades or winning awards, your mind is going to create a path for you that gets you more of that praise and less of whatever you feel shame about or criticized for. So you turn into that people pleaser, right? You turn into somebody who just wants to help all of the time so that we can be loved and accepted. And we consciously or unconsciously start hiding parts of ourselves that don't fit into that definition that our mind came up with of what it means to be good enough. And so we desperately try to show a version of ourselves that we think is good enough. And so I call all of this brilliant analysis programming, and all of the crap and untruth that our mind throws at us to keep us running our programs is mind BS. So we are here, stressed out grown-ups who are trying to be good enough. All right, let's give this stressed out grown-up a name, like stressed out Sally or trying hard Tara. Or, oh wait, this is you, right? Let's give yourselves a name. Think of a stressed out name for yourself. I am going to be Caffeina Christina, surviving on coffee and maple flavored coffee mate, because I'm Canadian and I got to push that maple stereotype. What is your stressed out name? Can you come up with one? I'm so curious to see what everybody comes up with on that. All right. So, Drama Llama, Emily, Emily, yay. Emily, you win a prize for being the first brave one to share. Angsty Andrea, you also win a prize. Both of you get these beautiful shower steamers. Woohoo! Well done. Angsty Andrea and Drama Llama. Oh, this is fun. I love it. Thank you for playing along. Woohoo! And congratulations. So I will touch base with you later to send out your prize. Woohoo! Okay. So, okay, I gotta go back to my sharing now. I just had to put my face in there. All right, so each of our lines is going to look different depending on what we encountered. Like some of us might be like kind of close to our true selves if we were celebrated for being all of those things that are really us. And some of us are going to be really far because growing up, it was unsafe to be those things. It was unsafe to be ourselves. And so, my brave warriors, are you ready to explore some of your old programming? Go grab your workbook. If you go to the link in the Google Drive and download it, it should be fillable. So if you either save it to your drive or download it, you should be able to write directly into the workbook. And when you grab your workbook, scroll down to the page that starts with Day 1 Boundary Bloopers. And we're going to uncover what makes us bloop. Bloop. All right, so the page should look like this. So first, we're going to think about some of the big areas of our lives, like big elements of your lives, like career or parenting or your partner relationship, or even things like friendships or how you dress or your house. Okay, it doesn't matter. Think of something that is important to your life. Choose one thing, one area of your life that you think is calling to you because maybe it needs some better boundaries. All right, and we're going to focus on that area today. Enter that area of your life that is calling to you at the top of your workbook. So I'm going to choose parenting because for me, that is something that I am always working on, both in terms of setting boundaries with my kids and setting boundaries with myself in that realm. All right, let me know what you came up with. So then underneath, you might notice that it says, in order to be good, I need to. And here we're going to finish that sentence. And so we're going to finish that sentence specifically for that area that you've chosen. So for me, it would be, in order to be a good parent, I need to. And I can see, Emily, you chose parent as well. So here's some examples of what I feel I need to be in order to be a good parent. I need to be patient all the time. I need to give my kids the best experience. Oh, Andrea, you're picking parenting too. Yeah, it's a subject for sure. We have so much programming around what it means to be a good parent. Like, I need to never yell. I need to put my kids first. I need to make sure they excel in school. I need to always have a clean house. And there's a part of me that believes I need to give them a perfect childhood, whatever that means. So I'm going to put a timer on for about a minute and a half, probably. And you let me know when you're done by putting stuff in the chat. Take a moment to write out, in order to be good, I need to. And I'm going to leave this up here as an example. And go. Totally, Emily. So add something in there about parenting and communicating with your spouse. In order to be a good parent, I need to have perfect communication with my spouse. I'd be curious what it means to be considerate, Emily. Does that mean bowing to their needs? Putting their needs above your own? Okay, you've got about 10 seconds left. Yeah, so Andrea wrote active listening, advocate for them, keep them active. Yeah, you got to do it all right. Got to do that listening right, not just regular listening. Consider other people's needs as much as mine. Yep. It's always hard to balance your needs and their needs. All right, very, very well done. Okay, let's go back to my PowerPoint here. So right underneath it, it says, I wish I could. And now you have 1 minute to, or what, minute and a half to write your wishes. And so this is you tapping into your deepest desires. When you think about your life right now in this category that you have chosen, which is parenting all around, what do you wish you could do? And we're not going to worry about whether it's possible, right? This is just a wish, just a desire for this exercise. So what do you want so badly that your heart aches? Here are my examples. I want to take a break. I want to get the kids to do things themselves. A big one for me is I want to know what to do. So often it feels like I don't know how to handle this situation. Is this a time where I'm like supposed to like hold the line or just give them love? I don't know. There's a part of me that wants to run away, and I definitely want to take some time for yourself. Yeah, right away, you already know I want to not feel like a failure as a parent. How many of us feel like a failure as a parent? You know what? I would say 100% of good parents feel like they're a failure as a parent. So that means you're an amazing parent. So well done for that. All right. Oh, you're already done. I'm not even going to put a timer on. I want to have discernment. Is that very similar to me knowing what to do? I want to respond rather than react. Yeah, we've been told so much about doing that. Listen authentically. That's another one that keeps coming up. I want to feel safe and calm. Who doesn't know you yet? I want to feel safe and calm as a parent. That is such a big one. How many of us feel unsafe because we feel like a failure or because we feel like we're not doing it right? Ah, your kid doesn't hate you yet. High five for that. Excellent job. Some of us would say that, they go through that phase and that actually means you're doing a good job setting limits. So there is no right or wrong way to do this, but we are digging into our old programming now. So I absolutely love the humility that you have done this. Thank you so much for sharing your wishes. Okay, so let's look at what you've written on your page. Okay, and it's easy to see that there's a gap. And so the first box is your old programming. And the second box is your true self. And so my old programming tells me that I need to be perfect and take care of everyone and everything all the time and be on top of everything and be responsible for ensuring that everybody else's lives are perfect. And the real me, the true me, is desperate for a break and balance and freedom. And like not only just freedom to make my own choices, but freedom from these impossible standards that I'm trying to hold myself up to. And so let's take a look at our programmed self again. So does this make sense? Anybody have any questions before I move on? Okay. So we are going to look at our programs. We are constantly running millions of programs at any given time. Programs that tell us all these things that we need to do in order to be good enough. And this drives our behavior. We have programs that tell us to fit in and stay quiet and be kind and unobtrusive at the same time as we have programs that say put ourselves first, fill our own cups. And trying to live up to this all of the time and do all of these things is freaking exhausting. This is what keeps us so busy. And so this is like making us stressed out. It's setting this impossible standard that keeps us out of balance and overwhelmed. Okay, but wait, there's more. All of this programming also saps our energy because it creates this divide between our programmed self and our true self. And that creates a conflict within us. And so the farther away these 2 points are, the more imbalanced we feel. Like our true self is fighting with our programmed self. Like there's part of us that wants to be our weird and authentic selves and just show up as who we are. And then there's another part of us that wants to fit in and be accepted and safe and perfect. Yes, Andrea, we set standards against what other people project. That's exactly right. Because our mind takes in all of this information and it creates those programs. And it sees other people doing things a certain way and it says, oh, in order to fit in, I need to be that way. Or in order to fit in, I need to not make that person be that way. You know what I mean? Like if somebody's angry or somebody's yelling at you, in order to fit in, I need to not make that happen again. Or in order to fit in, I need to be bigger and louder. Your mind is going to do your own program, right? But that's exactly how programs are made. And so in my example of all of those things that I listed, I have my true self saying, oh my goodness, I am so tired. I need a break. And then I have my program self saying, you need to be good. Good parents are selfless. Good parents don't take breaks. Good parents put their kids' need ahead of their own. In fact, good parents don't even have needs. And so when it comes to boundaries, you have your true self telling you that you deserve respect and your program self saying, don't rock the boat, right? Your true self is saying, speak up. And your program self is saying, stay quiet. So you can see how there's this conflict within you and it is so draining and it keeps you stuck. And so we are stuck here feeling the stress, feeling that divide, trying to be good at all of the things, but also to take care of ourselves. And we can't seem to be able to do both. And so we feel like we're not good enough at anything. We're not good enough at setting boundaries. We're not good enough at being a parent. We're not good enough at being a worker. We're not good enough at being a wife. Whatever it is, we feel like we are not good enough. And this fight within ourselves takes up so much energy. and it puts our nervous system on overdrive. And this leads to anxiety and depression and health problems and burnout, which is where I was. I had programmed myself that I just needed to work harder. And that's how I was going to be liked and worthy and lovable. Work harder. Okay, so now it's feeling pretty depressing, right? But I have excellent news. Are you ready? The solution to all of these problems, the solution to being overwhelmed and exhausted and stuck and out of balance, it's all the same. What do you think it is? Guess what? It's not boundaries, even though boundaries is a part of it. It's finding yourself, taking steps that lead you back closer to who you are. Yes, making decisions is the biggest part of it. That's what the boundaries are going to do for you. Because when you are truly connected to who you are and what you stand for, that's when your body feels balanced. You start feeling at peace and aligned. And all these words that are here that our programmed self can't even quite understand. And we have lived as our programmed self for so long. We have felt that divide for so long. And this is why your boundary setting isn't working. This is why you can't find life balance. This is why you spend so much time and energy maybe searching for something, like anything that is going to make this feeling of not rightness go away. Anybody spent time searching for that, numbing that feeling of not rightness? Some of us think it's a new job. That's going to be the magic. Some of us think it's a new medication, or, some of us drink it away. Some of us eat it away. We are just looking for a solution to numb this divide. And so the solution is find yourself. And that's what I help people do, because I was so frustrated with all of the advice that I had no clue what it meant, or that didn't really lead anywhere. Like, fill your own cup first. Yes, I want to. How do I do that? Anyone? Like, nobody could tell me. Love yourself. Yes. How do I do that? Nobody could tell me. It was so frustrating. Emily, your beautiful face. Thank you for showing your face. So I have built a step-by-step process to take you from where you are now. What's your stressed out name? Llama. I got to go back up in the chats to find your stressed out name. Drama Llama and Angsty Andrea. Oh, I love it. Okay, so we're going to take you from that place to your true self. And setting no BS, value-aligned boundaries is a huge step. This is the action part that is going to actually get you moving closer to who you truly are. And that's what we are doing this week, okay? Woohoo! It's going to be awesome. All right, let's give our true selves a name too. Let's give our true selves a powerful name. So I can see you're all creative. So think about what your power name is going to be. I'm going to be Queena Christina. Oh, Queena Christina Suprema. Yes. What is your power parent name? Put it in the chat. Okay. I love the creativity of you guys. All right. Emily Queenie. Yes. So now, in case you might be like, oh, this sounds really great in theory, but it's not really possible for me, or thinking things like, I'm too busy to get unstuck, or it's impossible for me to have life balance with everything that I am juggling, let me tell you about Jackie. Jackie is an amazing human. She is a giver, a pleaser. And she would self-proclaim that she is a pleaser. Like, she really actually takes joy from helping others. And she's a mom of two and a teacher who did everything for her students. You know, that teacher that you remember forever and you go back to and visit years later? That's Jackie. All right. And so I am going to call her Juggling Jackie because that's going to be her stressed out name because she was keeping all of those balls in the air, trying to be everything to all of her students and her colleagues and her kids and her husband and her parents, not like her actual parents, but also the parents of her students. Oh my goodness. She worked so hard. Good daughter, good mom, good wife, good teacher, juggle, juggle, juggle. And we just wrote what it means to be good in one of those roles, right? But being good in all of these roles, as we know, is pretty much impossible. And we barely scratched the surface of that in our little exercise. So juggling Jackie had to be patient and kind and sweet and giving because her programs told her that this is what made her lovable. And so she put aside her needs so that she can give more of herself to everyone else. And her entire identity was around being a helper. And she is amazing. But there was a part of her screaming to rest. There was a part of her trying to be heard under all of that helping. Anyone know what happens when we don't listen to that part of us? Same thing that when we don't listen to our kids, it gets louder. It starts as a whisper. Yes, type 2 Enneagram, exactly, the helper, absolutely. It starts as a whisper and it gets louder and louder and starts to scream. It screams, I'm exhausted. I'm depleted. I can't go on. But what does our program self do? It says, no way, man, you can't rest. Resting makes you lazy. Resting is selfish. And lazy, selfish people are not lovable. Push through, give more. And so that voice that wants us to take a break just keeps getting louder. And we start falling asleep while driving and we get headaches and we can't help but numb ourselves with anything that will make it go away. You know, wine, chocolates. You know, I live in Canada where pot is legal. You get the picture. And so have you ever noticed that you get sick right after a busy period? Like you push through until the end of a project and then you get sick over vacation or over Christmas or something like that? That's your body telling you that it's exhausted and to stop ignoring it. It can show up as ulcers, headaches, hair loss, autoimmune disorders, and even cancer. It's like a super long list. And for Jackie, this showed up as seizures, which was terrifying for her and her family. She had to stop working and she couldn't drive because she didn't know when she was going to have a seizure. She lived in fear that it's going to happen. And she was terrified that it might be an indication of something else, like we all do. We all think it's a physical thing, right? Like a brain tumor. And when she was off work, she found me. Yay. And just like me, exactly like me, she felt a huge amount of shame that her body had shut down or that she couldn't cut it. And so she started on that path that we're going to take this week from her program self to her true self. And the path starts with uncovering her old programs, just kind of like we did today. And what she felt made her a good mom and a good teacher and a good daughter. And she was full of shoulds. I should be in class right now. I should be cleaning the house. I should be getting myself better. And she told me that she never ever said no to anything. She always wanted to help. She never rocked the boat, even if she completely disagreed. And so she went through my program where you uncover your BS and kick it to the curb. And your mind BS, this is the answer, your mind BS is the slippery banana peel and our villain that makes your boundaries bail. And then she learned to set boundaries that are energetically aligned with her unique values, which we are going to do tomorrow. And then she went back to work at a new job. She switched from being a classroom teacher to an itinerant teacher, which is a teacher that, you know, supports multiple schools in multiple classrooms. She doesn't have a class of her own. She's working with the higher needs students to support the teachers. And about 3 months into my program, her husband noticed some major changes in her. Like she was lighter and smiling more and connecting more with him and their 2 sons. She was enjoying life more. And he made a comment to her that had Jackie reflecting. He said, wow, this new job seems great for you. You seem to be much happier now. And that got Jackie thinking, was that true? And so she thought about it and she thought, no, this job is actually harder with a lot more bureaucracy that she doesn't love. She has to like pitch for resources, which means she can't help all of the people. And that sucks and is stressful for her. And it means that she can't always help the way that she wants to. And she finds that frustrating and exhausting. So she thought, no, the job is not easier. It's not the new job. I actually prefer being a classroom teacher. She didn't want to be a classroom teacher because she was worried that she'd have to go off again and leave her students alone. So she thought this job is actually more stressful than my teaching job. And she came to the conclusion that it's not because her job is different, it's because she is different. And she is different because she's busted through a ton of her old programming and gotten herself closer to her truest and most beautiful and magnificent self. And she was able to set boundaries with her new boss and her new role, and the teachers that she worked with as well, and the kids that she worked with. And this is very critically important, she learned how to set boundaries with herself. And so Jackie was kind enough to share her journey publicly. And I'm going to be posting a video in the group later today if you want to know more. Okay, so the big takeaway here is that the biggest banana that makes your boundaries bloop is your mind BS. And that is why we need no BS boundaries, right? We do not want boundaries that has all that BS in the way. So today we learned that our mind BS is our villain. It is what's getting in the way. It's the culprit behind our overwhelm, our exhaustion, and our lack of life balance. And we had to focus on this first because there is no point in even trying to set boundaries with our mind BS chirping all of that BS in our ear. And so now we're ready for tomorrow, where you are going to meet your happiness hero, and we are going to get into the boundary setting tools that are going to move you from that program self to that true self, which means out of overwhelm and into the life that you deserve by taking active steps to close that gap between the program self and who you really are. All right. So quick homework, your homework today, it's very easy. You've already done it. It's to share your power name in the Facebook group, which is you, your true self. That's who you're going to step into this week. So mine is Queena Christina Suprema. And see if you can give yourself a little tagline too, and maybe find a gift that represents you, like something that explains how you really want to live or who you really are. Like my tagline is going to be Queena Christina Suprema, dodging drama and waking up happy every day. That's my tagline for my true self life. That's how I want to live. And so that is it for today. Thank you so much for being here. Feel free to stay on if you have any questions or want to work through anything that came up. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, where we get to the boundary setting tools that you have been waiting for. Thank you so much and see you tomorrow.